Hello dear students, this is Raksha Shetty and you're watching Edubassa, your homely learning channel. So in the last video, we learned about the nutrition part in the chapter of life process, where we discussed about two types of nutrition, which is basically autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. We learned about photosynthesis, about stomata, several activities, and we learned about heterotrophic nutrition, its types. So today in this video particularly we are going to learn about the nutrition in human beings. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Human alimentary canal. So this human alimentary canal is also called as human digestive system because whatever the food that we are taking in, it is going to digest with the help of the system. Digestion in the sense the breaking down of the complex food particles into that of the simpler food particles is called as digestion, so that the digested food later will reach to the different cells for the purpose of what? The energy, for the purpose of growth as well as the repairing. So because of some of the changes that is taking place in that of the outside environment, so a lot of damage will be taking place in that of the body of the human beings. So for that the repairing is important, for repairing the energy is important, and that is gotten from where? From the food, which is basically the carbon rich food that are gotten from that of the plants, right? Because plants prepare their own food, whereas we and human beings or the animals cannot, so we depend on the plants for our food, right? Yes. So this alimentary canal, basically it is a long tube and it starts from the mouth and it ends till anus. The starting point of this alimentary canal is basically the mouth and it ends till that of the anus. Through the anus the fecal matter is going to get out of the body, which is basically a waste. Yes, we will learn about that. So the human alimentary canal consists of the mouth, the esophagus, which we also call it as the food pipe, because it is a pipe through which, whatever the food that we are going to break down in that of the mouth, it is going to pass through this esophagus or the food pipe to that of the stomach. Hence we call it as pipe or the food pipe or esophagus. The next part is stomach. After the stomach, small intestine, and there is some more parts which helps along with the small intestine, which is basically the pancreas as well as the liver. Okay, the next to the small intestine the part is the large intestine, as well as at the end it is the anus. So in this video we are going to learn about all of this in detail. Yes. So this is the human alimentary canal. One second. Yes, this is the human alimentary canal. You can see over here, this is the mouth where the tongue is present, the teeth is present, as well as the saliva is present. Saliva, the liquid which is present in your mouth, so that is the saliva. Then you can see over here the long elongated tube like structure, the pipe like structure, which we call it as esophagus or the food pipe, through which the food is going to enter into that of the stomach. So this is the stomach part, which is the J-shaped, isn't it J-shaped? Yes, J-shaped bag like structure. So then it enters into that of the small intestine, you can see over here, so which also takes the help of the this is the liver. You can see over here, this is the gallbladder. Okay, so here you can see this is pancreas and this is small intestine. Next to the small intestine comes the large intestine, and it is stored, the waste materials is stored in this part called as rectum, and later it is released out through that of the anus. Yes. So first part we are going to learn in detail about the mouth, which we also call it as buccal cavity. So mouth has got teeth which helps for chewing of the food. So the food that we are taking in is basically the complex food, so it has to be broken down so that it passes through that of the esophagus and the further part of the alimentary canal. So it has to be broken down in the mouth itself, and that is done by that of the teeth, because the alimentary canal, whatever here, it is made up of muscles, and it is basically the soft lining, inner lining is present. So whatever the food that we are taking in must be broken down and should be made soft and wet so that it can easily pass through this. Yes, so it is broken down with the help of the teeth. There is saliva saliva present? So this saliva is produced by that of a gland called as salivary gland, which is present in that of the mouth. So this salivary gland secretes saliva, and this saliva contains an enzyme called as a salivary amylase enzyme. What do we call it as? A salivary amylase enzyme. And this, the main function of the salivary amylase enzyme is the breakdown of the starch to sugar. Important, they will ask for your examination purpose. The function of the saliva, that is to break down the starch to that of the sugar. Yes, then whatever after the breaking down of the starch, whichever is present in that of the food, that food which is mixed with that of the saliva, we call it as bolus, and then the food is swallowed and the food is passed to that of the esophagus, which basically transports the food from that of the mouth to that of the stomach by the help of the peristalsis. So peristalsis is nothing but, imagine this is esophagus and here the food is present, food is present. So this region is going to contract, and then what happens, the food passes here, so this region is going to relax, it will be relaxed like this, and this region gets contracted, and again food passes like this, so this region is going to relax and this region is going to contract. So this is going to take place throughout the alimentary canal, not only in the esophagus. So throughout the alimentary canal it is going to take place. So basically it does the disco dance. Yes, it does the disco dance. The entire alimentary canal does the disco dance, like this. Yes, so does the disco dance. Yes, don't write disco dance for the examination purpose. So it is called as peristalsis. Yes, exactly. Now next is about the stomach. So next to that of the esophagus, it terminates into that of the stomach. So stomach is a large muscular organ and it secretes the gastric juices, which is basically HCl, pepsin as well as mucus. So HCl, why the HCl is present? Because this HCl kills the bacteria whichever is present in that of the food, which comes through that of the esophagus, right? Whatever the bacteria is present in that of the food, this HCl kills the bacteria and it creates the acidic medium. Obviously HCl is nothing but hydrochloric acid. One second. Yeah, HCl is nothing but it is basically hydrochloric acid. Okay, hydrochloric acid. So this hydrochloric acid is a acid, so it creates which medium? Acidic medium. So it creates acidic medium. Why it is creating acidic medium? Because in order for the pepsin to act, so pepsin is an enzyme, so if the pepsin has to act, the pepsin basically is an enzyme which breaks down the protein. Okay, so if it has to act, this HCl must create acidic medium, otherwise pepsin cannot act. For that reason it creates an acidic medium so that the pepsin can act and break down whatever the protein is present in that of the food. And the mucus is present because HCl, obviously it is a acid, right? So acid can corrode. So basically whenever the acid just falls onto your skin or whatever, it does have the ability to corrode. So it might corrode your stomach as well. So in order to prevent that corrosion, okay, in order to prevent the corrosion, what is present? This mucus is present in order to protect your stomach from the corrosion of the HCl. Okay, they will ask the functions of this, so important. And yes, important. Okay, so whatever the food that is getting mixed together, we call it as chyme here. Now the food is acidic, right? We call it as chyme here. Yes, so this is the mucus, dear students. This is the mucus which is present in the inner lining of the stomach, which basically protects your stomach from the corrosion of the acid. So you can see over here, this is basically the peristaltic movement. First the food comes, contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation. So this is basically the peristalsis movement. And as I told you, the entire alimentary canal will be undergoing the peristalsis movement because the food gets mixed with that of whatever the gastric juices present over in the stomach very much nicely, and the breakdown will be taking place very nicely. In that of the small intestine also, the enzymes will mix up easily and it will break down easily. For that reason this peristalsis movement is important, and also in order to help the food to move to that of the other regions, it is again important. Yes. Okay, the next part is the small intestine. So important, small intestine is a place where the complete digestion takes place. Okay, it is a place where the complete digestion takes place. It is the longest part of the canal. Okay, it is the longest part of the canal, small intestine, longest part. So we call small intestine and small intestine, yet it is, the width is basically the I mean before going to that of the width. So we call small intestine as small intestine even if it is the longest part of the canal, and we call large intestine as large intestine even it is the smallest part compared to that of the small intestine. Why? Because of the width. Okay, here the small intestine width is less compared to that of the large intestine's width, hence what do we call? We call small intestine as small intestine, whereas we call large intestine as large intestine. Yes, so before the small intestine acts, it has got two friends. One is liver as well as pancreas. So this liver as well as pancreas will take up the secretions, will help the small intestine before the small intestine acts. So this liver, what it does is nothing but it will be having a gallbladder, which is a gland present in the liver. This gallbladder secretes a bile juice. It secretes a bile juice. So before the pancreas enzyme could act, so pancreas cannot act directly because from the stomach acidic food comes, isn't it? The chyme, the acidic food comes, so it cannot act directly. So it has to be emulsified. The whatever the large globules of fat present, large globules of fat that is being present, it has to be emulsified. It has to be broken down into small globules of fat, and that is done by the bile juice. Then the pancreas can act, the pancreatic enzymes can act, whereas in the bile juice there is no enzymes. In the bile juice there is no enzymes, but pancreas does have the enzymes. So this pancreatic enzymes to act, if it has to act, the what acidic food has to be made what alkaline, basic. So that is done by what? Bile juice. How it does? By emulsification of the fat. Clear? Yes. So this is how the small intestine looks like. So talking about the pancreatic juice, as I told you, so next the bile juice acts, it breaks down the large globules of fat into the small globules of fat. This pancreatic juice is going to act. So these pancreatic enzymes are basically trypsin, lipase as well as amylase. So the trypsin will break down the protein to amino acid, lipase will break down the fat to the fatty acids and glycerol, whereas amylase is going to break down the starch to that of the sugar. So after the pancreatic enzymes act, then it is the turn of the intestinal juice to act. So if this intestinal juice, whatever the protein, small amount of the protein is present or the fat is left behind, whatever the starch or the carbohydrate is present, it completely digests all of it, all of the proteins, carbs as well as fats, okay, into amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol as well as sugar. So the complete digestion is being taken place where? In that of the small intestine. Yes, this is the liver. Basically liver, you can see over here, this is gallbladder where the bile juice is secreted. This is pancreas where pancreatic enzymes are present. So before what this could act, this is going to act in order to emulsify whatever the fat is present in that of the acidic food. Then the enzymes present over here can act in order to digest the food. Yes, okay, so here the placement of the pancreas is here in your body. The liver is here in your body. I'm sorry, my mistake. Yeah, liver is here in your body. Yes, so you can see over here, this is the pancreas. Yes, so the next is the absorption in the small intestine. So it has reached to that of the small intestine. Now all of the digested food will not go to that of the large intestine. So yes, it does go to the different parts of the body, because what the food has to reach to the different parts of the body for the purpose of energy. Okay, until if it reaches small intestine, it is not enough, right? It has to move to the different parts of the body as well. So that is done by the villi, which is present in that of the inner walls of the small intestine. You can see over here, these are the villi which is present on the, if this is the small intestine, on the inner walls of it, this small finger like projections are present, and we call it as what? We call it as villi. So what it does is nothing but it will absorb. Here the food is being digested, right? It absorbs the digested food, and now how the digested food passes to the different cells is with the help of the blood vessel here. Okay, the blood vessel will be present. Blood vessel, isn't it? So you have learnt in your primary classes and all, the three types of blood vessels are present, which is veins, arteries, right? Arteries, and one more, what is it? The capillaries, right? You know it already. So what it does is nothing but it basically helps for the flow of the blood. So along with that of the blood, what happens is nothing but this digested food will be flowing to the different cells for the purpose of energy. Okay, clear. Yes, so the blood vessels help, and we say that villi increases the surface area, because just imagine this is a normal line and this is a line like this, so which is longer? Obviously this, right? Yes, that is the reason it increases the surface area. Okay, if it increases the surface area for the maximum absorption of the water, digested food, so that the more and the more energy can be produced. Yes, okay, clear. I hope this is clear. That's about it. Yes, next is about the large intestine. So now small intestine, whatever the digested food has gone, everything is done. Now what about the undigested food? Some of the food will not be digested properly, and it is not required for our body, it is not essential for our body, and it has to be eventually removed out, and that is done by the large intestine. So what large intestine does is nothing but it will absorb whatever the extra water is present, and that undigested food will when the undigested food, when it reaches to that of the large intestine, it will absorb the extra water as well as salts. Okay, and this undigested food will be stored in a part called as rectum. Okay, it will be stored in a part called as rectum, next to that of the large intestine. Okay, if this is the large intestine like this, so next to that there is a part called as rectum here, so it is stored here, and it will be eventually removed out through the anus by the help of the anal sphincter muscle. Okay, sphincter muscle is nothing but it is a muscle which will help to eventually remove out the waste, in the sense like it will not go out at a time, right? Eventually in a smaller amount it will be removed out. So that is why for the controlling of the food particles to be removed, the sphincter muscle helps. Yes. Okay, this is how the large intestine looks like. This is the rectum part. Okay, then here is a part like this, where this is nothing but the anus through which the undigested food will be removed. So there is this experiment to show the what saliva does break down the starch into that of the simple sugar. So what we are going to do is nothing but we are going to take 2 test tubes. We are going to put down the starch solution in both of the test tube, some ml of starch solution to both of the test tube. Now to the first test tube we are going to add fresh saliva. Yes, to the next test tube we are not going to add anything. We are going to keep it for 20 to 30 minutes. So what is going to happen after 20 to 30 minutes is nothing but obviously the saliva is present over here. So this saliva is going to break down the starch to what? Simple sugar, right? So now whether the starch is present here? No. Whether the starch is present here? Yes, because there is no saliva, right? So the breakdown is not going to happen here. So we are going to perform the iodine test. By the previous experiments and all, that iodine, when it is going to react with that of the starch, it gives which color? The black bluish color, right? The black bluish color, just like the color of your ink pen. So it is going to give the color of that. So when we are going to add iodine to this, and when we are going to add iodine to this, which will give the black bluish color? Obviously this is going to give the black bluish color, because the starch is present here but the starch is not present here, right? So that is going to happen. That's it. Okay, once I will explain with the help of the alimentary canal. So what happens? The food is taken in with the help of the teeth, the food is broken down with the help of the tongue. The food is been it mixes the saliva thoroughly with that of the food, and the saliva is produced by that of the salivary gland. So salivary gland secretes saliva, and saliva has an enzyme called as salivary amylase enzyme, which helps for the breakdown of the starch to that of water to that of the sugar. Now what happens is nothing but the food will pass through this esophagus, which basically helps for the transporting the food from mouth to that of the stomach. So it undergoes peristaltic movement, which I've already explained. So next to the stomach there is what? H cell is present, mucus is present, and one more pepsin enzyme is present. So what H cell does is nothing but this H cell is going to kill whatever the bacteria which is present in that of the food, and it also does create a acidic medium for the pepsin enzyme to act. because pepsin is important for the breakdown of water, the protein. So if it has to act, this HCl is important. So now the pepsin is present in order to break down the protein whichever is present in that of the food. This mucus is again present in order to protect from the HCl, because HCl is an acid, right, hydrochloric acid. So it will corrode the stomach. So in order to prevent the corrosion, so what is present, this mucus is present. Next, the food enters where? Enters into that of the small intestine. So small intestine has got two friends. One is this liver, one more is this pancreas. So the liver has a gallbladder, which is a gland which secretes the bile juice. So before pancreas could act, because pancreatic enzymes, if it has to act, the food has to be made alkaline. The food which is coming out from here is acidic because HCl is present, right? So it has to made alkaline before it has to act. That is the reason the bile juice is present in the gallbladder, which will emulsify the fat present over here, and this pancreas will be having the pancreatic enzymes which will be acting on the the food particles, and it is going to digest. And then in the small intestine, some of the intestinal enzymes will be present, that is finally is going to digest completely whatever the food that is present. And this digested food, with the help of the villi which is present in the inner walls, it is going to what it does is nothing but it's going to transfer to the different cells for the purpose of energy. Now the undigested food will move through this large intestine, and the extra water and the extra salt will be removed with the help of the large intestine, and the solid fecus in the sense, right, I will not explain much about fecus. So fecus is basically the undigested food, the roughage, okay, that has to be removed out of the body. It is what do we call it as, it is basically toxic for our body, so it has to be eventually removed out. So that is stored in this part called as rectum. Then it is eventually removed out with the help of the anus. That's about it. Okay, so that's about it, my dear students. So let's meet again in the next video. Until then, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Until then, keep watching, keep learning, and most importantly, enjoy while learning, my dear students. See you. Bye bye.